Welcome to the Explainer. You know, in a hospital, a tiny error can have huge consequences. Life or death, right? But what if, and this is a big what if those very errors, the things we're so scared of, could actually become the key to saving more lives? Well, today, we're going to dig into exactly that. We're looking at how hospitals in India are flipping the script, turning mistakes into their most powerful tool for keeping patients safe.
All right, let's just jump right in with the story. Imagine this. A nurse, super busy, is about to give a patient some medication. But at the very last second, something clicks. They realize it's the wrong one. Phew. The error is caught. The patient is totally fine. Crisis averted, right? Well, not exactly. Because the real story, the one that actually matters for every single patient in that hospital, starts right at this moment.
See, the most important question isn't did an error happen? I mean, let's be real. Mistakes are going to happen. Humans are involved. The real question is, what does the hospital do next? Do they just sweep it under the rug and cross their fingers it doesn't happen again? Or do they see it for what it truly is? A free lesson, a golden opportunity to fix a crack in the system before it leads to something much, much worse.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. To really get a handle on this opportunity, we all need to be on the same page, speaking the same language. And in India, that language is set by the NABH-C. That's the National Accreditation Board for Hospitals. They figured out that not all incidents are the same. They actually break them down into three key types.
First up, you've got what's called a near miss. And this is our nurse story, exactly. It's an event that could have hurt someone, but it got caught just in the nick of time. You got to think of these as a total gift. I mean, it's a free look into a weakness in your system, and nobody got hurt. For learning, these things are pure gold.
All right, next up is a no-harm event. Now, this is where things get a little more serious. This time, the mistake actually reached the patient. Maybe they got the wrong dose, but it was so small it didn't have any effect. This is a huge warning sign. It shows there's a real gap in the process. And this time, we just got lucky. And then there's the most critical one of all. A sentinel event. This is the big one. We're talking about a serious, totally unexpected event that leads to death or major, major harm. A sentinel event is like a giant, flashing red light. It's an unmistakable signal that something is deeply wrong, and it demands an immediate, all-hands-on-deck investigation. No excuses.
So, okay, we've got the different types of incidents down. But that brings up a really big question, right? If these things are so incredibly valuable for learning, why on earth aren't they getting reported all the time? Well, the answer comes down to one simple, powerful word: fear. Let's talk about the single biggest thing holding hospitals back from being safer.
And this, right here, is the absolute heart of the problem. For years, maybe decades, the knee-jerk reaction in healthcare has been to play the blame game. When something goes wrong, the first question is, who messed up? But that whole approach is just broken. It's fundamentally flawed because it puts staff in this impossible position. Do I report this and maybe lose my job, or do I just keep my mouth shut and hope a patient doesn't get hurt?
And this chart, wow, it just lays it out perfectly. This is the huge cultural shift that NABH is all about. It's about moving from a blame culture that's obsessed with who did it to a just culture that asks a much better question. Why did this happen? So let's take our nurse again. Instead of firing them for the medication error, a just culture looks deeper. Hey, is the packaging for these two drugs almost identical? Was that nurse on hour 16 of a double shift? See, it's about fixing the system, not just pointing fingers at a person.
Okay, so once you've got that foundation of safety and trust, that's the starting point. But how do you actually turn that great idea into a real working process? What are the practical steps? Well, here's the playbook, the step-by-step framework for making sure you capture every single one of these learning opportunities.
It's this really smart, 6-step process designed so nothing slips through the cracks. It all kicks off the second an incident happens. Staff can report it right away using simple, and this is key, confidential forms. Then, a quality team jumps in to figure out how serious it is. After that, there's a quick investigation to get the facts straight. If it's something really serious, it gets escalated for a proper deep dive. That's called a root cause analysis. And, so important, the last step is communication. You share what you learned with everybody, so the whole team gets smarter.
All right, so a report gets filed. Awesome. That's a huge first step. But let's be honest, a report just sitting in a filing cabinet isn't saving anyone. It's just paper.
So how do we turn that piece of information into a real, actual improvement that lasts? That, my friends, is where something called the CAPA cycle comes in. CAPA. It stands for Corrective and Preventative Action.
Let's break that down. First, you've got corrective action. The easiest way to think about this is it's about fixing the past. A problem has already happened, and your goal is to make damn sure it doesn't happen again. So let's say a patient slips on a wet floor that no one marked. The corrective action is what you do right now. Clean up the spill, put up that big yellow sign. You're fixing the immediate problem that's right in front of you.
But preventative action, that's different. That's all about securing the future. It's about being proactive. So, using that same slip example, the hospital might look at its reports and notice, hey, you know what? We get a lot of slips right here by the coffee machine. The preventative action isn't just putting up a sign when it's wet, it's installing permanent non-slip flooring in that whole area, and maybe even changing the cleaning schedule to be more frequent. It's about stopping the problem before it even starts.
Now here's something really interesting. You can have the best, most positive culture in the world, and you can have these brilliant processes on paper. But none of it matters if the actual system for reporting is a total pain to use. I mean, think about it. If it takes a busy nurse 15 minutes to wrestle with some clunky form, that's 15 minutes they aren't spending with their patients. It's just not going to happen.
So the takeaway here is huge. You have to make reporting ridiculously easy. We're talking about forms they can fill out on their phone in like 30 seconds, giving them the option to report anonymously, which is massive for building trust, and having this system automatically ping the right people so a problem gets seen instantly. The goal is to remove every single roadblock so that doing the right thing is also the easiest thing.
Okay, so we've talked about culture, we've talked about process, the whole shebang. But here's the million-dollar question. Does any of this stuff actually work in the real world? The just culture, the reporting process, the CAPA cycle, does it make a difference? Well, let's take a look at what happens when hospitals in India really go all in on this. Check this out. Here's a real-world example. An NABH-accredited hospital. They brought in a modern, easy-to-use electronic reporting system and really committed to their CAPA follow-up. And the result? Get this. In just 1 year, they cut their medication errors by a whopping 35%. Just pause and think about what that really means. That's not just a number. That's dozens, maybe hundreds of people who were kept safe from harm.
And it's not a one-off. Here's another one. A different hospital was having a tough time with hospital-acquired infections. So they dug into their incident reports, found the patterns, and built a targeted preventive action plan. The outcome? A 25% drop in those infections. That translates directly to people getting better faster, going home sooner, and just a lot less suffering.
And this one might be my favorite. Another hospital started paying close attention to those near misses we talked about. And based on those free lessons, they made some pretty simple changes. Things like color-coding their medication bins and using barcode scanners. The result? They slashed their near-miss medication errors by 40% in just 6 months. It just goes to show how listening to those little warnings can lead to huge, rapid improvements.
And looking at this chart, you can really see the impact. That 35% drop we mentioned, it's dramatic. But you have to remember, this isn't just a bar on a chart, right? This is a picture of a hospital getting fundamentally safer. Every single percentage point you see there represents real people. People who went home to their families, safe and sound, because the system did what it was supposed to do.
So, when you boil it all down, the takeaway is pretty simple, and it's crystal clear. Yeah, the technology is a great tool, and the processes give you a roadmap. But at the end of the day, a truly safer hospital starts with culture. A culture where every single person, from the top surgeon to the person cleaning the floors, feels empowered to speak up without being afraid. If you want a safe place for patients, you first have to build a safe place for your staff to point out the problems. And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. When the next error report comes across someone's desk, what is it? Is it just another document to be filed away and forgotten? Or is it something more? Is it a blueprint? A blueprint for building a better, safer future for everyone who walks through those hospital doors? By embracing this way of thinking, every single incident, no matter how small, becomes a vital piece of that puzzle.